Well, let's talk about some of the songs, man. I'm gonna start with the one we're here to talk about, which is "Dead Wishes." Before we even talk about musically or guests that played on it or anything, great choice. Just because, and honestly, this is what I've liked so far about what I've heard from King Ultramega, is that you're not just relying on the tried and true hits.
No.
It would be very easy for the first song to have been Black Hole Sun. And you probably would have been forgotten 3 minutes after because everybody's heard that song 9 million times. I love the fact that, like this one, or Preaching at the End of the World, or Preaching the End of the World. I mean, these are not the big songs. These are, you got to be a fan to even know that these exist. What led you to that? Is that why you did that? Because you kind of purposely wanted to not cover the tried and true easy ones?
No, I knew I didn't want to cover that. I could tell you right now, we're not doing Black Hole Sun.
Okay,
Never going to happen. We're not touching it. It's
sure.
perfect. It doesn't need to be touched.
Hmm.
It's to be left alone.
Sure.
But with preaching and Dead Wishes, I'm a huge fan of Chris's solo work too. Euphoria Morning is one of my favorite records, top to bottom of all time, period. And you could hear, with Soundgarden's last record in the 90s, Down on the Upside, you
Hmm.
could kind of hear elements of Euphoria Morning on, at least in my opinion, you could hear those elements on that record, and you could hear where Chris was headed as a songwriter on that record. Um, and then, the eventual split happened in the 90s, and then Euphoria Morning came out, and it was like, whoa, what is this? And as a kid of the 90s, like you, man, I was in the thick of it. It was a refreshing record. It was very Beatlesque to me, and being a huge Beatle fan, it was like, man, it was awesome. And then recording Preaching, I was like, man, those are George Harrison chords. Wait a minute. Those are
Right.
I started learning things. I started learning what Chris was probably hearing. Obviously, I can't confirm that. I spoke to Pete Thorne, who was on Preaching, and he
Hmm.
confirmed a few things for me of, Chris's thought process with some of those solo songs. But yeah, I mean, I love those records. Dead Wishes, which just came out. Every song was picked purposely for a very specific reason. It wasn't that I just threw songs on a list and said, I like this, I'm going to do that, and I like this. It wasn't that at all. It was, let me just write down a bunch of songs that I truly love.
Sure.
And I know it's kind of whittle it down from there. And I got to 10. And I can confirm we're doing 10 tunes, six are
Okay.
out. And we cover the gamut of the Chris Cornell world, if you
That's
will.
awesome.
And
That's great.
yeah, so Dead Wishes, that again, you know, um, preaching started my pet sound thing of I'm hearing all this other stuff. And then Dead Wishes is a continuation on
Right.
that. When we finished recording that and Braun turned in his vocals for that, I'm like, man, I hear violin and cello.
Right.
Do I know anyone who owns a xylophone? Like things like
Right.
that, and that's kind of what you hear is what was going on in my brain.
Sure. Let me ask you about some of the people that played on this there, Mark. I'm going to start with a guy that I literally said if anybody was going to ever replace Chris Cornell, it's him. It's Richie Kotzen. That dude, his voice is too close. Everybody says about Cornell, it's a once in a lifetime voice. Well, maybe it's a twice in a lifetime voice because when Kotzen does this, even on his solo records, he sounds like Cornell. He's as close as anybody I've ever heard. Talk a little bit. Is that why you asked him on this? And
I didn't think he would do it, man, because he reveres Chris,
Mhm.
he loves Chris, but he also doesn't. He's very cautious on singing Chris stuff.
Sure.
He's asked a lot,
Hmm.
and he doesn't do it. And last summer, when I was kind of looking at my recording sheet on who's going to play on what and sing on what, man, I just heard Richie on this song, and I haven't talked to him in a few years, and I sent him a text. Hey man, is this still you?
Right.
He responds back, it's still me. Is this still you? And and then he called. And then
Okay.
I explained what I'm doing. It was an immediate yes, and he delivered his vocals and guitar literally within 48 hours.
Oh
So what
wow.
you hear was done in 48 hours, and
Okay.
it literally made me cry when he delivered it. When I heard what he did, sat where I'm sitting right now in my studio. I put it on, and I just started crying. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God!"